Happy anniversary, Mishaco, from AK Operators Union, AKOU style, of course. Misha, thank you very much for everything what you're doing, man. It's always a pleasure to watch your videos. You're right on the point, and I deeply, deeply appreciate all the effort, time, and everything what goes into those videos, because I know from my own experience, this is not an easy task, but I wish you another 100 years on YouTube, which is going to be a challenging, as you know, but keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much. Hey, and take care of yourself. And I'm going back to, of course, dumping the magazines on targets. Bye.
Greatly appreciate that from Rob there. I thought he would do a better job introducing this video than I can. He's an extremely high energy individual and extremely interesting. Hi, Misha here, and this is a bit of a special video. This is our 10th anniversary. Yeah, we started 2011, July 31st was when we published our first video, although I think we actually recorded it earlier that month, around 4th of July. Since then, kind of grown slowly but steadily. We're about 51,000 now, but a lot of that is up until we didn't have a choice, we didn't monetize. And when you don't monetize on YouTube, yeah, but now we do because you kind of have to. And we did get a Patreon, and so slowly, sure. But the thing is, it's been great. We get to share a love, passion of guns, and that's how we've met so many people. So throughout this video, you're going to hear from other people like Rob, and we're just going to talk about guns. In fact, we're also going to revisit 9 or 10 of our old videos from 2011 and 2012, i.e. the ones recorded in about 50 by 40 resolution using a only half rotten potato. By 2015, at least, it was just a fully intact potato. Before we get started with the main chunk of the video, I would ask, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps with the current algorithm. Posting, commenting really helps too. If you have any friends into guns, please share. Try to make this a special video, have some neat surprises up. And if you'd like to help support the channel for the next 10 years, check out the link to our Patreon page. And with that boilerplate out of the way, let's get to the meat of the video. So I have this gun out for a couple of reasons. This was the most recent gun that I sent up to Rob Ski there. We have been kind of swapping and exchanging guns because we're both into the Kalashnikov and similar. This is the Swiss SIG SG751 that he recently did a video on. And it worked well, which is good because the first gun I sent him nearly killed him. That would have been the Pioneer Arms AKM, the Pioneer Sporter. That was back in 2015, and it was a pre-production batch that they sent out, and they sent out some to Atlantic Firearms, and they sent out 3 or 4 to me. And I asked Pioneer, I said, do you mind if I send one to AK Operators Union? Because he was really in his 5K test zone at that time. And they said, yeah, run it till the wheels fall off. Well, he ran it, a couple hundred rounds to the headspace fell out. And then a lot of drama ensued, none of which was Rob's fault. And that's really where I got to know him in depth, was that whole thing. Because he actually was very upset the gun failed. A lot of people at that time thought he wanted guns to fail. No, he actually called me quite distraught that he was saying, what's going on? The last couple of guns I've done, they haven't worked. And it was just a bad string of luck. It happens. Luckily with this gun and newer guns he's tried out, at least they've been reliable and safe. So that's how I know Rob. And actually, last year or year before, he moved quite close to where we live, and we're practically neighbors. So there might be some upcoming things because of that. 2020 put a lot of things on hold. But with that, let's move along to a different Swiss-inspired gun. Alrighty, well, our first videos were published together. like I said, July 31st, 2011. And they were on, well, not Swiss guns exactly, the US SIG-Sauer copies. The first one was the SIG 551A1, and right after it, we published the SIG 556 pistol, which I was trying to turn into a 552, 553. This was early days. This was even before the M+M imports. The reason we did it was because no one had really done a video on those guns at that time that wasn't working for SIG-Sauer Incorporated. And initially those guns were supposed to be a special run for CDNN down in Texas, who I had a very close relationship with back at that time. So, okay, I'm gonna warn you, brace yourself, because not only is it 2011 YouTube, it's 2011 YouTube that's recorded with a secondhand camcorder that Jay had borrowed off his parents. No mic, no anything. And cicadas. Oh my, the cicadas. With that, let's go back and look at our first 2 videos.
I received the SIG 551A1
Oh my god, cicadas.
about
They really are
but it's been
that
well
loud
over
here.
100 degrees.
Also, the
and finally we just gave
old
up waiting
YouTube
for it to
resolution
go
is so
and
painful it
came
even
out
hurts me.
About 7 p.m. where it's, you know, probably only a mere 102.
So yeah, if you focus, you can actually maybe hear me. Again, this was our very first video.
A lot of info on the internet about these. A lot of people hating the...
Even then, early on, there was a lot of back and forth about the SIG 556 and 551A1.
Happy with the fit and finish. It's a real SIG stock.
And it was. The original ones were real stocks.
Nice and tight, but not being too tight. The upper and lower receiver fit together quite
Yeah,
tightly,
mine fit together, pretty well.
My Colt 6920 from the factory. I've modified this one a little bit.
And there's where it begins.
551 handguard.
Started off quite simple with a relatively inexpensive gun.
A Colorado Gun Sales 551 flash.
Started modifying.
It actually timed up perfectly without a crush washer, which is nice.
And
I don't know if they all
yeah, some US parts.
Bayonet lug was also
but
added
then some
from Colorado
Swiss
Gun
parts there.
Sales, and put on some different takedown pins from MFI.
Those are cool pins. Of course, they're not the original because they can't be,
Instead of
but
being
they're cool.
the detachable kind that you can risk losing, these are just standard AR pins, but they look like the original.
Says the blind guy.
That's something. I've got a 30-round translucent.
That's the original mag.
Here. The US pistol grip.
You have to use the US
trigger
grip.
guard does fold, but it folds down, unlike the originals. SIG said they did that to save money. Probably, you know, it's a small detail, but important to some. It does have the ambidextrous safety.
Yeah, ambidextrous, not ambidextrous.
It's quite well made. I'm working on getting some Swiss-style sights in gray for it to really kind of complete
Which
the look.
ultimately I did.
And as I said, we shot 10 rounds just a minute ago of Tula steel case that I did mine. We'll try some brass case in a minute, and recoil was very low.
That's true.
For what it is, for a $1,500 gun, it seems fine.
Keep in mind, 1,500 back then,
exactly a 551,
a lot different.
But it's close enough if you don't want to spend $3,500.
Hey, look, shooting. That shut the cicadas up a bit, or at least drowned them out. And yeah, that was our very first. Quite short, although back in 2011 most YouTube videos were a short video. So yeah, that was our first video, and quite a bit younger back then, and the cicadas are still loud. Now this is not that 551A1. In fact, the 551A1 was just one step on a path. It originally began for me with US SIGs, as most of us, because the pre-bands were exorbitantly expensive back then. Still are expensive today, but even more back then, believe it or not. But I started with the 556 Classic, which had the folding stock, but still took AR mags and all that. And then the 551A1 I thought would do me well. And while it came with the Swiss stock, I ended up putting Swiss handguards. I did, as I mentioned in the video, I did end up getting Swiss sights for it, thanks to Colorado Gun Sales. And then I realized by the time I did all that tatting up that it was well over 2,000, and then the guns went up. Long story short, I sold it for about 2,500, and then I bought one of the early 5.53 imports from M+M, and that got me started on the Swiss produced over the American. Now, the American guns are really not bad, but, you know, when you want something, it just whets your appetite. Something we'll see later on in this video, too. That led me to getting a 5.51 with a 14-inch barrel from Mike Ott, or Otti as he says. I will always say Ott because I went to school with a family that spelled the name the same, but said Ott. So I got those, and that was 2012-13, and we did videos on those too. But really what ramped up, after years of being teased, is a company called JDI. And with that, let's play a clip from its owner.
Misha, Dave with San Imports JDI Firearms. Just wanted to congratulate you on 10 years of your YouTube channel. Myself, as well as the other SIG collectors, always look forward to your videos that are always very knowledgeable, and you do great reviews. It's been a privilege to get to know you, and not just on a business level, but also on a personal level the last few years. And just wanted to take this time to congratulate you, and best of luck and congratulations. Take care.
Now, really am appreciative of Dave. He actually recorded that while he was out of town on a trip for us. Plus, you get Earl here. Say hi, Earl. Not your rear, your front. They want to see your front. People say you have nice eyes, Earl. All right, that's enough, Earl. Move along home. Alan Moraine. So, that was Dave. And Dave was really the first individual to import Swiss SIGs in the modern era. A lot of people had said they were going to do it before. Dave was the first to make it happen. He started off with 5.51 short barrels, and here we have another one of his relatively early imports from 2018 of a 5.51 long barrel. Quite similar in overall aesthetics to the American one, but different in Swiss quality. And Dave and I have had quite an interesting journey together over the past 5+ years, because the first time I heard about him and what he was, planning to do, I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical. Not because I didn't trust him at all. I just had heard that song and dance before. Oh, someone's going to do it. Well, I called him up one morning. We chatted for a bit, and I got a good feeling. I put down a pre-order, which is $500 per gun, for a couple of 5.51 SBs, and it just grew from there. And actually, after COVID, he and I met in person this year, 2021, and he let me do quite an extensive interview with him. So if for some chance you haven't seen that, check it out. It's really interesting. He gives some insight into the whole world of SIGs. But that really started the whole passion, and I started the 5.51A1 trying to learn about it, and that is something that has continued with me for a very long time. I just find the Swiss guns quite intriguing, and Dave has helped feed that addiction for me and many others. So greatly appreciative for his friendship over the years, support. He really is a nice guy that'll go above and beyond, and he knows he could get more for the guns that he sells, but he puts them at a fair price with a decent markup and lets other people and other dealers like me put them on Gunbroker or whatever. So that's a really good thing. And he's not the only one. In fact, our next individual is much the same. But first, let's kind of go back and look at some other videos from 2011.
While I was ordering the 5.51,
And more
DDN had one
cicadas.
P556 left, and I've sold a few of them over the years, and kind of a neat little pistol, but I didn't like it as much because it didn't look like a 5.56.
Yeah, they don't make those
Since I
anymore.
was already ordering parts from MFI and Colorado Gun Sales, I went ahead and grabbed the last
They did make
5.56
good parts.
they had and modified it with a few add-ons to make it look a little better. The,
Like a lot of us
flash hider
trying to
is
make it into a 5.52 or
three-prong from
5.53.
MFI. It's
which
quite
is
a lot like
kind
the
of
original, except the front's a little
fool's
thicker,
errand,
the
to be
back's a
honest
little
with you.
thicker, so it tapers with the barrel to look a little better. Added a NATO bayonet lug from MFI. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I think I just had it.
There was a hole there, and it looked like it needed filling. It's obviously too short to
fill those holes.
put a bayonet on. This is a 10-inch barrel. The handguards are 5.52 style, made by MFI, but they're made a 3/4 of an inch longer so that they'll actually fit. And the reason the gas system's a little bit longer on the P556 versus the 5.52 is if they made it the same length, they would have had to have gone to...
That's something that a lot of people didn't understand back when these were on the market. Not only did they have a longer barrel by a little over an inch,
of course, that would have meant it was more expensive.
they also had a longer gas system.
And I've also went ahead and replaced the front
5.52, 5.53 handguards could
screw
not fit.
with a standard Swiss-style takedown pin. These are non-captured pins, same in the back, and kind of give it that better look. I hated the screw in the front that maybe reminded me of the SP1.
Yeah, I've never liked those screws in the front ever since the old days of the SP1.
It's a pistol, but it does have a cap you can remove in the back to install a stock if you get the proper SBR paperwork, of course.
Oh,
And,
the days
we'll
before
shoot this one in a little
arm
bit,
braces.
see how it does. I had to take off the gas block to install the handguard ring. So,
Yeah,
hopefully
one
I
of my
didn't screw anything up
earliest
doing that.
gunsmithing
We'll find out.
efforts, and surprisingly, I did not fuck it up badly. This was actually with Jay's parents' old camcorder. So it wasn't just SIGs that we were into. Some other early guns we feature on the channel were HK roller locks. But in 2011, 2012, there were not as many options, and to be honest, we didn't have the money, so we made do with clones. Some of them good, some of them not so good. I will say this though, having grown up in the 90s in the era of the Todd Bailey guns, the special weapons, the Bobcats, the Kaharis, hey, these guns that we're about to show you were better. Unfortunately, the video quality still threw a potato with no mic, secondhand camera. But with that, let's just look back and laugh.
All right, just a quick one. We just got through shooting
Quick
this.
one,
I've had it
yeah.
out a few times.
Heard that
It's
before.
an MKE AT94P converted to carbine. It's made
Yeah, that's how they used to import them.
MKE,
This
which is a contractor.
back before they could do the
for
push
HK.
pin
They have
lowers.
all
ATI was the
licensing
original
and
importer.
tooling to produce both the G3 and the MP5 and all their variants.
Never really did get a G3 from
These are
anyone.
only imported for a couple of years or even less before.
Yeah, like 2009,
MKE and
2010
ATI
time
got in a
period.
disagreement over the pricing of the third shipment. So as of now, they're not bringing any more in because MKE wants.
Disagreements with
too much money
MKE
for
seem to be a running
They brought
theme.
in two
They've gone through
shipments.
3 or 4 importers
This
by
come
now.
in as a pistol originally. It had no handguard, no buttstock. It's probably one of the god-awful, ugliest guns out of the box you'll ever see. But it has a lot of potential.
And for that day, it
I've done
really
some work
did.
on it. I made it look like a old style with a slim handguard, fixed stock, straight magazine, 2-point HK sling, clipped-in pin lower. It came with the paddle mag release. The lower it came with was just like this one, except this was cut off in the front right here.
Hey, at least it sounds
I put
better.
this one on,
And the
fixed it up
cicadas
from
are
Vector,
not as loud
and
as
had
the
it
last
clipped
video,
in.
right?
This is a barrel shroud by E&L. It's especially
Those are kinda
made
cool.
for the AT94. Great people over there, great to deal with. It doesn't actually have a screw directly on the barrel, but this screw right here tightens a metal collar inside.
Yeah, those
which
never really
squeezes on
did
the
mar
barrel.
up the barrels
So it's
too
not gonna mark
badly.
up
Maybe
the
just a
barrel
little bit of a
nearly
scuff
as
in the
bad
paint, but
as
not
having
like
3 or
a set
4
screw would
screws.
leave.
It's made of a lightweight aluminum.
Yeah, I hate it when you get
alloy,
a barrel extension and barrel
so it doesn't
shroud
add
and
much
it
to the end
adds
of your
8
gun.
pounds to the end of your muzzle.
It's really
I
nice
really
for
don't.
that. These guns are pretty much all in spec, except they have a block in the back here, so you can't use a full auto. But I'm not.
And that's something that kind of
interested in full auto
continues with
parts
the
anyway,
POF
so,
and even the HKs
whatever.
because
But if you are, this
when
may
you
not
go
be
to the
gun
push
for you,
pin
but
lower.
if you don't care about full auto, this is an HK clone made on HK tooling.
I guess we'd say
at
contract
a
gun,
reasonable
really.
price. They're anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 right now.
They
You
are
can
not
find
that
them
price
new.
anymore. Century
And,
wants over
it
2K for
actually has
theirs.
some features that the original HK94 did not, such as the paddle mag release.
Remember, this was long before the
it's
SP5,
just a good gun. The
SP5K.
barrel it has is a little bit heavier than the standard
Little
HK,
bit's an
so it's
understatement.
A little bit more accurate,
Really heavy barrel
better
for some reason.
balanced, and just less spindly looking without the shroud on. It will take a collapsing stock, but I like to fix, and it takes any standard HK.
Oh, wind, we're being blown away.
It's only the 94A2 carbine that can only take 10 round mags, but both
I'll get you, my pretties.
the 94K pistols.
Yeah, we get a lot of
can
wind
take
here in Arkansas.
high-capacity magazines out of the box. I just thought I would share. It's a neat clone. You don't hear much about them. And so
now.
far, it's been 100% reliable after 2 different range
And
trips.
that really was a good, reliable gun for
500
several
rounds.
years until the POS
And,
came
I'm
out.
glad I picked it up. Well, thanks. That's all. All right. Just got through firing a Century C93. This one was purchased
we started
a little
off
over a
with
year ago,
Centuries.
and it came into my shop secondhand and sold
really
it to
anyone.
a friend.
Yeah, it's even a used Century.
Built by Century Arms. It's one of the later ones. Just fired it. The first 10 rounds we were using really cheap Tula steel case, 55
Tula.
grain. Had a couple of minor failures with the first mag full, but using the second
Surprise,
mag,
right?
a different mag, all 12 rounds went through fine, so it might have been a mag issue. Anyway, it was also cheap ammo. These are built from H&K 33 parts, machine gun parts. You've got an original buttstock, original handguard, original flash hider, original sights, original carry handle here, has an original 40 round aluminum magazine. The receiver, the barrel are US made, and the lower
old
frame
922R.
for sure. I'm sure some of the internals are. It does have an original HK bolt group. 16-inch barrel, threaded standard HK pattern. It does have the standard HK bayonet lug, and it does come with the bayonet. This is quite hot.
Hot barrel.
Standard HK style charging handle. It does latch back like any HK should.
You know, compared to their earlier G3 and SETME
I like them for the money.
They were
You're looking at
but still,
$500-$600 for one of these. I also sell, and I've had great luck out of the Vectors, but they're well over $1,000. And of
Like I
course,
said,
original
Vector
H&K
is,
93s, the
no
semi-autos
with us.
made back in the
They
80s
made a better
are
93,
over $2
but
grand now.
also a lot more
for an
expensive.
HK shooter, it's not bad. The only thing I really don't like is this lower.
Well, who wouldn't like
It's just
that
so far away
sexy lower?
from the original H&K, but then again, you can get polymer lower groups, and the trigger group just drops right in, so it's a minor complaint that's easily resolved. But these usually ship with 2 40-round mags
Well, at least they did
and a
back then.
bayonet, and they're usually good shooters. The barrel has a 1 in 9 twist rate, so it'll handle 55 or 62 grain quite well. I'm not going to pretend like it's a collectible, but it's a good shooter.
And it really
so we're
was for
gonna
the
continue
time.
to test it with
for the money.
some steel cased. It worked fine last weekend with brass, so there was no problem there. We're just trying to see how cheap we can feed it. It does also, just to mention it, have the spot for the bipod, although it does not come with one, and right now H&K bipods are quite hard to get.
Again, at least the
So
cicadas
we'd
aren't
share it since we
assaulting
had it
us.
out testing
Or
today.
cows or dogs.
Thanks.
This, the gun ran well enough for a Century gun. So this is a 9mm roller locked gun, but it is not the MKE you saw. The MKE was a good gun, but it was a product of its time, 2010, back before we had things like push pin lowers. And it did have a paddle mag release, but that's actually unique. And this has the original barrel. So anyway, different times. Good gun. Glad we had it. It was fun and reliable, but it was just a step on that road. And really, it's a great road to be on now. The last 10 years have been great for roller lock guns. We even have legitimate HKs now. So, great. One of the first guns to come in back in 2014, though, was this. This was kind of what broke the glass ceiling. This is the Pakistani Ordnance Factory's MP5, as it's marked on the gun. Although it's often just called the POF5. And I received this as kind of a T&E gun very graciously from our next guest star here. And again, he has generously contributed a clip. Let's take a listen, or look if you're not me.
Hey William, it's Blaine with Atlantic Firearms. Wanted to wish you a happy and successful 10-year anniversary for your video channel. You've been a great wealth and source of information and inspiration for all of us in the shooting community. William and I go back a long way. He's been a big help with our company and offering us a lot of insight. And a lot of you don't know, but he gave us a lot of input and design ideas for some of the rifles that we're famous for offering, like the WBP Fox series, as well as some of the FB Radom products. So he acted kind of as a behind-the-scenes consultant. We, of course, were very good friends and had a great working relationship, so we always liked to hear his input. He's also has a distinct style and, again, a wealth of information out there on the internet and the way that he presents things. Really enjoy all his videos. And can't thank him enough for helping support the shooting community. So from everybody here at Atlantic Firearms, congratulations on your 10-year anniversary. Hope that you have another 50 more, and we get to keep on hanging out together and working together on all these fun and exciting projects. Have a great day.
So you have it. Yeah, I met Blaine, at least over the phone, a long time ago, nearly 20 years. And it was probably when I was a bratty kid calling in about one of his PPSH 41 Sematos, made by, was it Wise Light or was it before Wise Light? It might have been one of the inner ordnance or inner arms guns where they were welded. Anyway, he didn't know me from Adam. He took time, and that's the kind of person Blaine is. He takes time with people, and he's one of those people that gives everyone a chance. He treats his workers very well, and he's very successfully grown Atlantic Firearms over the years. And it's one of the few companies that it's pretty difficult to find a lot of negative reviews about. I mean, every company is going to get it. That's just a thing. But let's say compare them to Century or IO, and they basically have a gold star rating on the internet, and that's difficult to do. And so yeah, he sent me a POF 5 back when these came out and told me to run the crap out of it, and that's exactly what I've done. I don't know if he really meant to do it 7 years later, but this has been a great gun, and I will probably never sell it because it was really the first time anyone, any manufacturer, any importer, any vendor took a chance on me and treated me like I had any relevance on here because, you know, I don't have a lot of subs now, and that's fine. Everyone we've got here we love. But back in 2014, I think we had about 8 people. So for him to take a chance on us on a channel then was remarkable, and I never forgot that level of trust. And I will also say, briefly, that Blaine is a very good family man, very dedicated father. He really does care about people and will go the extra mile. Just don't screw him, because he's one of those people that I love to be friends with. I would not want to be on the other side of. And that kind of gets us into what he was mentioning. Here is the WBP Fox that Blaine and the owner of Arms of America, at the time, Andrew, agreed to send me as a pre-production model. It's a little bit different than the production we ended up with at the Fox, and I had this for about 6 months. It was really only supposed to be about 2 months before the release, but then a few things got changed last minute on the production, so I had it for 6 months to run and see if it did run, and it did great. Unlike that PAC that we sent to Rob Ski. Still have it, still a good kind of, not beater gun, but shooter AK. Just extremely smooth, and it's a very special gun to me because, again, it's him taking a chance. And at that time, I guess it was about 2017, I was still pretty unknown. I'll also say that WBP themselves were very generous and agreed to do a Q&A session, an interview session. So if he maybe didn't see that, check it out. Honestly, it was one of the most fun videos we did. And it didn't just stop there. Back in 2013, we did a few videos on the Polish Brill, the Archer. And there weren't a lot of videos out there. Military Arms Channel had done a few. But aside from that, not much else. Well, the IO imports faded. Radom USA never got off the ground. But in 2018, Arms of America, with support from Atlantic, started talking with FB Radom, formerly Circle 11, about importing guns. And I will say this, people think that the price point of $1,500 is high for these. Guys, they, meaning Arms of America and Atlantic, fought hard to get them that low. FB wanted them quite a bit higher. And I know this because, again, Andrew and Blaine invited me in as a very junior partner, kind of an outside consultant, as he mentioned, for what they were doing. And I had to keep it under wraps for years, and it was difficult to do because people wanted these guns. And I couldn't say anything about them, and it was torturous. But I knew that's the deal. They were keeping me in the loop, and my deal was to keep my trap shut. So yet again, Blaine, guess which cat, showed a lot of trust and faith in me, and I hope I've paid that back over the years. He is someone that I greatly respect and admire. Oh yes, we were trying to be more professional and use music. Yeah, that didn't last long.
Today we're out here with
Still not
Vector
really introducing myself here. I guess
actually this was originally a pistol, but because of federal law, you can convert a pistol to a carbine. However,
yeah, whatever happened to Vector? Ah, that's an interesting story.
This is easy
Maybe
to
one
do
day I
with
can
the
tell.
Uzi because the stock's held on with one screw.
They make good guns,
and
though,
the
by and
barrel
large.
just unscrews right here. This is an E&L shroud on here.
Another E&L.
I've seen one on my AT-94 pistol as well. It's built from original military parts. Most of them are either South African, Israeli, or FN, all licensed factories regardless.
Good honest
It has
mutt.
Model A sights. It's got an early style of Parker ice finish.
Yeah, they
Nice
used that in the
treated
60s.
receiver. It has a converted full auto lower.
Yeah.
That I believe was a West German issue, so it would have been made by
They issued
IMI.
the Uzi as the MP2
It's, of course,
in West
converted
Germany.
for a closed bolt. Has the folding stock, which just quick deploys, which is kind of nice. You
Still
can
prefer
put a
wood
wood
stocks
stock
on
on it
those.
too. The earlier style. This one's in 9mm. They also make a 45 conversion kit that drops right in.
They did before they didn't exist anymore.
I've been messing with Vectors quite a few years, and they're
Yeah.
really well
Picked
done.
up my
for
first
the
one
money,
still during the
for what
assault
you
weapons
get.
ban.
Uzis are very fun to shoot, very solid, reliable guns. Parts are inexpensive for them.
At least they were then.
And just, a nice little piece of history. If you grew up in the 80s, I mean...
You can see here
You know
where
what
we're
an
trying to
Uzi
be a
is.
little more professional and just, For various reasons, we like shooting at the end of the videos. And notice no call-outs for Patreon. This was made long before Patreon was a thing. And more music. That's that video. So, the Vector Uzis, I first bought from Vector. It was during the assault weapons ban, so 02, 03, maybe early 04. They made some good Uzi clones. They used very nice receivers, and they used Green Mountain barrels. Sometimes they used original IMI receivers. Unfortunately, Vector is it's closed. So, yeah, no more Vectors for quite some time, which is a shame because I was really, along with Atlantic, Blaine from earlier, one of their main distributors. We just had a good working relationship. In fact, they made a few special runs for my store. So we did several of their products over the years. I would love to have a clip from the former owner of Vector. Unfortunately, he's not available to do that. He's still alive, but he's indisposed. The closing of Vector Arms is a very sad story, but if I'm being 100% honest with you, it is also a little bit darkly funny. But yeah, Vector and the Uzi are definitely part of our kind of channel history, if you will. Plus, who doesn't love an Uzi? But with that said, it wasn't just carbines and whatnot. Quite early on, and really our first series was on Walther handguns. And so I picked the first video from that series because the ending is quite interesting to talk about that. Again, bear with us as we look back in time through the potato and we can laugh together. Yeah, we're still doing the music thing. Can't tell where this theme's.
So we're going to look at a few of the Walther pistols, starting with the first generation P99.
Yeah, this was kind of the first series we did.
Single action trigger.
Part 1 was this gun here, part 2 is the compact.
Double action, or you can cock it.
I still think the way Walther did the striker system on this was pretty neat.
Like I said, this is an early one. It was made around 2000. They haven't made these since about 05, but I thought I'd start with the beginning. It was Walther's modern polymer frame pistol that came out in 1996. Had a lot of features back then that weren't common, like the interchangeable back.
Yeah, it actually pioneered a lot of stuff and really fits my hand well, personally.
For windage. Has a proprietary rail underneath the barrel that.
Yeah, the days before the standard of 1913 or Picatinny.
16-shot magazine, made of metal to keep it slim. This one's in 9mm. They made them in 40. And,
hello, cow.
Quite a reliable gun. This one has the OD green frame called the military frame.
Oh dear, here they come. Here they come.
And there are dogs here now. Hello, dogs. Yes. So we'll shoot this one, then we'll look at.
No.
One of the unique things about the P99 with the first trigger, also called the anti-stress or AS trigger with the Generation 2, is it simulates a double-action, single-action pistol.
Yeah, I think it still works really good even today.
It's striker fired.
Hey, the sound's at least clear on this one.
It, and then set it
First
back
one
here
without
for single
major
action,
cicadas.
and then it returns to double. You can also cock it into single, and then hit the decocker for it to go back to double.
Ah, the days back when 9mm was 10 cents a round oil. And for once, I still have the gun featured in one of our early videos. Here's the same old Generation 1 P99 with the green frame. And the same case. They used to come in quite nice cases. We have straps, even a polymer cleaning rod, spare 16-round mag. Still love Walthers. The PPQ is kind of another early hit for us around here. But my love affair with these, I like Glocks okay, but Glocks don't quite fit my hand well. I remember the first time I was at a gun shop and I called them and they said they had a P99. And they were kind of hard to find in Arkansas in the late 90s because they just had come out. So I went to the counter and put my hand out, and the salesperson put it in my hand like this, and it immediately just fell into my hand and pointed so naturally that I knew I was going to walk out of the store with that gun. And so, yeah, these guns have been a favorite of mine, and for that matter, Jay's too, for all these years, and still picking up new Walthers to this day. Well, all right, well, enough about us for a minute. Let's let another guest say his piece. By the way, when I asked people if they'd like to submit a short little video for this, I told them they should feel free to make jokes, roast me even, just trying to have fun, make some smiles, guys, because really this whole channel has been a lot of fun for me, and I really enjoy the gun world, and it's allowed me to make a lot of great friends, real friends that kind of have your back when the chips are down. People that, if your emails don't sound right, will call you at 10:30 at night saying, hey man, is everything okay? You seemed off. In fact, that exact thing happened with our next person here. He called me one night really late when he just thought I seemed off, and he's that kind of person. And he's been very supportive of me this year, especially as I've had a few personal events, and just good people. So let's hear what he has to say.
Me and Grogu have been sitting here talking today about the fact that Misha has been on YouTube for 10 years. I'd like to congratulate him on his 10-year anniversary. It's no small feat that somebody would create a channel on YouTube and maintain and grow that channel over a 10-year period. It's a lot of work. You got to deal with, YouTube trying to kick you off because they don't like what we talk about, that being firearms. You got to deal with all the trolls and all the other stuff that goes along with it. And for somebody to stick it out for 10 years and produce the quality content that he does, well, the gun community thanks you, man. You've been a tremendous friend to me. I've known you for years. If you don't know Misha, he has a heart of gold. He will help anybody out. He'll help other gun channels with content by sending them very expensive firearms to use for video. And if you're a collector, he can find you the most obscure firearms. If you call him up and ask him for something that there might just be 2 of in existence, somehow he'll miraculously find that firearm for you. So he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to historical things. When I am making a video and I have questions about the history of a particular firearm, I'll either give Misha a phone call or I'll just see if he has a video out there already and reference that video. Because again, he probably knows more about firearms than most people out there making videos, including myself. So I want to just congratulate you, man, for your 10-year anniversary. It's been amazing, and I hope you're able to do another 10 plus years. The community would be a worse place without you, man. And so again, congratulations on sticking it out for 10 years and doing such an amazing job creating awesome content.
Tim is just as gracious as everything else. In fact, I brought this gun out because of it. Now this is an HMG, one of their, it's actually about the only gun they ever really produced. But that is because years ago, I happened to mention I had a few of these parts kits that had been given to me by Apex just sitting on the floor and no one was building them. And Tim said, send them to me, I'll get them built by HMG. And I thought that was awfully nice because we'd kind of recently met at that time. And so he did just that. And then HMG kind of started to go boop. And people said, you better get your kits back because the kits started to be worth something. Of course it's Earl. And just about the time I was going to contact him saying, hey man, maybe this isn't going to work out. I'm going to move Earl. He got an invoice from them and they were done. So he got me my first couple built. And then later he said, hey, Copper got some unissued kits. Would you like some for the store? And I said, heck yeah. And this is actually one of those. Nice condition, original furniture. That's also the kind of person Tim is. If he runs across one gun, rare gun, he'll probably keep it because I can't blame him. I'd do the same. But if he runs across 2, he'll offer it to a friend. He really is. He's not what you might think if you haven't met him. Very humble man. And, he's a former Marine, former veteran. And actually, the first time we really spoke, he made a joke. He said, with us old Marines, you can put us in a room with a steel ball and we'll either find a way to break it or make it pregnant. He has that kind of humor. He really is a good person. He's been a great support to my channel, my business, and my person. The other thing is, when he says I get a hand on rare guns, not really sure what he's talking about. I just have your bog standard ARs and AKs. Well, if our channel is known for anything aside from amateur photography and cicadas and cats, it's also kind of comm block material. AKs, RPKs, and the like. But believe it or not, it was actually not until several months, even a year into the YouTube, that we did a video on an AK. And the first AK video we did was actually on an East German MPI-KM. Kind of an interesting variant, very light. And I love the RPK. In fact, I've owned an AES-10B since they came out. But our first kind of SAW or LMG video for 762x39 wasn't on an RPK variant, but rather a DSA RPD. So with that, let's go back and check out those videos. Well, at least it's in the public domain. Believe it or not, this was the first AK
All right, we just
we
finished
featured on the
up,
channel.
Test firing this AK. It's a kit build from an Apex East German DDR MPI-KM, which is just basically their way of saying AKM. Came from
The German
Apex.
way.
It was one of just the scrubbed kits I picked up on a whim. With Virgin Romanian chrome line barrel, Nodak NDS1 receiver. Put a East German sling on it, just a standard
I don't
30 round
really
steel
know if the
mag.
cows love it or hate it,
Kind of,
but they certainly have an opinion.
glued Finnish.
I guess they're taking over
Using
from
the
the
original
dogs.
furniture right now, you can see the handguard's a little chewed up, but it's functional for now, and I'll probably buy a nicer one later. I just had a friend put this together for me. I needed to add a East German to my AK
Yeah, I
collection.
actually had
No,
Honey Creek Industries put that together.
No major, manufacturer, high rapid fire, Century Arms has ever really done an East German. I guess because there haven't been enough kits imported to
Now,
really make it worth
after
their
this,
while.
years later,
Apex
Atlantic
has had kits
Firearms
on and off for
built
a couple
a
of
number
years,
of these
but
from the
that's
same
about the only
kits.
steady source of them. This one, of course, is in 7.62x39. It's pretty much a standard AKM. The only difference in the metal is if you notice up here, instead of having the smaller loop, it has a larger one that the sling goes through directly without using the D-ring and snap. It's just one of the small changes they did. Otherwise, the metal's pretty identical.
Hence
to
why
any
East
other.
German
Of course, the
slings
furniture
are
is
kind of
different.
problematic
This
on
is
other AKs.
hollow plastic. This is the same type of plastic. This is plastic, and the lower handguard is
Truly plastic, not Bakelite.
beechwood.
Truly
They
plastic.
originally were going to do a brown plastic lower as well, but they found
Some
out
of those
there was a minor
lowers came
problem.
in
The
after that.
plastic handguards tended to melt to the barrel after a few dozen rounds, so they had to revert
Oh,
back
come
to,
on.
To wood.
It's
for
not
the
a
standard
problem with your
production of
handguard
this
to
gun.
melt to your barrel,
When they went
right?
to the AK-74 and even the MPI-72, they started using Bakelite up front and then a back folding stock. But this is an earlier model produced in the late 60s. Like I said, I just thought I'd showcase it. These aren't for sale anywhere. You had to build your own or have them built. But
Again, there
you
have
don't
been a
see
few
many
manufacturers
East
that
German
have done it.
AKs, and there
Hey,
goes my
cell
phone.
phones.
So
Not
I'll
old
catch
school
you next time.
phones. Yeah, that was our first AK actually ever featured on the channel. I remember the day we recorded this and picking that gun up. It was actually a lot of fun. I don't think that magazine would be California legal. What do you think? Yeah, right there, my finger's literally getting tired. Ah, finally. A lot of fun, though.
Alright, just got through firing an entire drum of 100 rounds through a DSA RPD. This one was made in Poland, or at least the kit was, in 1960.
That one did have the original
It has most
barrel,
of the
too.
modernizations, such as the non-reciprocating folding charging handle. It does have both the right and left side dust covers. It has the cleaning rod stowed on the side, which is quite interesting. Wood furniture. The lower handguard is tolerable. The
Got a
top
little
handguard
warm.
is really hot. 100
Again,
rounds.
hot barrel.
That's what happens. Had absolutely no trouble, even though the belt wasn't exactly mint condition when loading it
To
this
say the
weekend. I
least.
had to force a couple of links, and one I actually even had to straighten out with pliers. But
I think that gun was my first belt fed, if not
it's a
my
milled
second.
receiver.
True milled,
21-inch long,
not one
heavy
of the
barrel.
quote-unquote century
Reposition
mills,
adjustable
but
gas
DSA
system.
made
We kept
real
it on
milled
position
receivers.
2, which is what the manual recommends for the first 1,000 rounds, and then adjust down to position 1. We did not have to use position 3 for reliable cycling.
Yep, worked real well.
The gun weighs about 16.5 pounds unloaded. It weighs about 19.5, 20 pounds fully loaded with the drum.
Now try and tell me the 805 Bren is heavy.
Steel cased ammo we just got through shooting, which was Tula or Wolf, I can't remember right this second. It has a folding bipod.
Actually, I think it was Monarch.
RPK, but it has tubular legs, as you can see.
Kind of reminds me of the
It does
Chinese
have a threaded barrel
87's
with a
bipod.
knurled nut on the end. It did also come from DSA with a blink fire adapter, which
Those things came with a bunch of swag, a bunch of kits.
I don't know if this has a Polish barrel or a US. They've been coming.
Like I said, it
ways.
was Polish on that particular one. I found
I'm
that
just
later.
happy it's actually a Polish kit. The rear
They also had Egyptian
sights
kits, that's why I
are
said
like
that.
an RPK, adjustable for windage and elevation. The top cover is a nice solid milled piece. It keeps its clean.
Nice to be outdoor.
That rotates. It doesn't actually flip open. You can see a hinge here. It just rotates around, which is neat. It comes with a nice full kit.
Yeah, a lot in that kit there. Kind of
From the
neat.
factory, it comes standard with 2 drums, 4 50-round belts, 2 drum pouches, 1 oil bottle, 1 blank fire adapter, 1 drop case, and 1 tool kit.
And a sling. I don't know if I said
So
sling.
far, like I said, we just put 100 rounds through it, first time ever.
Oh, Jay's getting fancy
It
with
worked
the
great.
editing.
No trouble whatsoever. Hopefully, it'll continue to work great. If you can't tell, I'm a little out of breath. It was quite something to pull a trigger 100 times without stopping, and it definitely had no trouble rapid firing. It's a real easy trigger to keep on going with. This handguard is still really hot on top, I've noticed.
Don't lick it.
So gonna have to let it cool before we fire it again. But so far, initial
Yeah, those
impressions
didn't have
very
quick change
positive.
barrels.
Waited
That
3
was a
months to get
problem in the
this gun.
military for sure.
So that's great. Hopefully it'll continue to work, and it's
That's
definitely
one gun
something
I
that is,
somewhat regret
unique.
selling.
I
don't
don't
have
think
it
I
anymore.
really
Haven't had
realized
it
how
in
different
years.
an RPD was from an RPK until I had both side by side. It's just such a classic Soviet design. They first developed these during World War II, starting in 1943.
I would actually say this is
Contract
one of the
out,
most,
the first design,
or at least one of the
I'm gonna set this
first
down 'cause it's
kind of
getting heavy now.
unique guns we had on the channel.
The first design was submitted in '44.
Here you
But it
see
did not
kind of the
actually go into
beginnings of
serial
me wanting
production
to
until 1953,
add some history into
although
the
a few did
videos.
make it to the Red Army.
But back then I was able to
As I
do it
said,
in
this
5
one has
minutes.
some modernizations made in Poland. Russia did too. In the
I can't do it in
mid-50s,
5
they
minutes
added the
anymore,
non-reciprocating
unfortunately.
folding charging handle. They added both dust covers. They changed the windage knob a little earlier on, and they improved the gas system slightly. Serial production of the RPD ended in Russia around 1960. It continued in Poland till about 1961. They were also manufactured in China, North
See,
Korea.
Poland, when they made the RPD, they never made the RPK. They
They
thought
weren't made
about
in a
it
whole lot of places,
in the
but
70s, but
they were used pretty much everywhere.
they never
in the
adopted
world.
it. See, I can't help
You
myself
can
with
see them,
history.
you know, if
Some
it's
things
an
never
African
change.
nation or an Asian nation, RPDs
Asian
were
nation.
used there. They're still even being used in Iraq today. They're a light machine gun. They're really the first squad automatic ever made. The biggest attraction is a fixed barrel. If it wasn't for that, if this barrel could be quickly swapped out, like I said, it's hot, it would have been a really sky's the limit type gun. As it is, it's still a very reliable gun in full auto, and so far it's proved to be just as reliable in semi. So
For the
that's all
DSA,
for
a
now.
lot
I'm
of
sure I'll
early
keep updating
makers
and
had
people
problems,
around
and
to it.
even the DSAs weren't foolproof. So yeah, I thought we'd kind of roll those two together because they're so closely related. I don't actually have either of those guns anymore. In the case of the MPI, that was a scrub kit, as I said in the video. Later, Arms of America brought over marked kits, and even early ones with the blued finish. Nice wood too. So I upgraded, and that gun had a Romanian barrel. This one has a Polish. Neat gun. And I sold the RPD. I realized belt feds, as fun as they are, you get all hot and bothered and excited, but that kind of wears off quickly, and then after a few range trips you realize you're never bringing them out again. So for me, this ended up being kind of the sweet spot RPKs. A little bit lighter, And you can still stick a 75 round drum or even a 100 round if you get them. And this is a pretty neat variant. This is the AES-10B Paratrooper from Century years ago. And I got a front dong yet again from Arms of America. They were bringing in some pretty neat stuff for a while there, and still are today. But for imports, they do a lot of the boutique stuff. Great gun. The AES-10B Paratrooper is also kind of special for Jay and I because that's how we met. He purchased one off of me and drove down to pick it up and kind of went from there. But with that said, I did mention Century, and these guns are imported by Century. And our next guest just loves Century arms. So let's hear from him.
Hey Misha, James Reeves with TFB TV and Josephine. We're both here to wish you a happy 10th anniversary on YouTube. Dude, you totally deserve it. One of the most knowledgeable guys out there and a fellow cat guy. You may not remember this, but the first time we met was over the phone. We had a bozo on TFB TV a few years back who did this video praising the Century Arms Vushka or whatever that piece of shit was called, and there was massive fallout. And it was all while I was at work, so I didn't hear about it until I got home. And then you and I at some point started communicating because I think maybe what you were trying to find out is if we were a shill channel and we were taking money to praise crap. But you and I connected. I might be the attorney here, but you have been my counselor of guns over the years, and I appreciate your friendship and your knowledge. Congratulations on 10 years. I hope you have another 10 years and another and another, and booyah. You didn't think that we were gonna make it through this video without the shorts making an appearance, did you? Of course you didn't, because you asked for it. Well, I mean, you specifically asked me to do this on the phone the other day, so you need to apologize to your viewers, not me. That's kind of f***ed up for you to make me do that. Guys, take care. Misha, happy 10 years.
Yeah, that man loves himself some Century. Yeah. And when I think of James, I do think of modern guns, and it might seem like kind of an odd fit, but sometimes opposites attract. He definitely is into the more modern stuff, also into much skimpier clothing wear, or so I'm told. Nah, he's good people, and we've known each other a good long time. We get to chat on a regular basis, but he does like his modern stuff, and so we kind of communicate over that. We both like B&T, and we both like SIG. And he's not a big AK guy, but he does like his ARs and his Glocks, and I do like ARs too. This is a retro M16A1 I put together, and I actually did this really at the end of 08, beginning of 09, during the Obama panic, to prove that you could put an AR together quite cheaply. Now at the time I got one of the extra uppers from the surplused out, what was it, National Guard, I believe. And I put it on an A2. It was actually my first AR build. Later I replaced it with a Nodak A1 and also upgraded the furniture a bit. Either way, I do like ARs. I grew up shooting an SP1, but I like the kind of the more military and the retro ones. I also have a soft spot for the M4 here, or 6920, especially because we couldn't get them between 94 and 2004 with all the fun features. And while we didn't do any AR type videos for our first year or so of operation, certainly owned ARs. And that's really how I met our next guest, and frankly, one of my closest gun friends, I guess you would say. Really, we are kind of in that friend territory. We're friend zone in the good way. So with that, take it away.
This is Chris Bartacci from Small Arms Solutions. I just wanted to say a few words about my friend Mishaco. Well, I know him more as William, but you guys know him as Mishaco. When I started out in this, in the media end of this, I was probably about 3 to 5 years ago, and I put out one of my videos and said that, Colt doesn't want to play with me no more. They don't want to send me any guns to review. Well, I was brand new, no one heard of me, and I got an email from William saying that, well, I've got Colt guns, I'll send them to you. So he sent me some Colt guns, and ever since then, me and William have been wonderful friends. William is probably one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever seen in this industry. When I need technical information, I go to William. He is extremely generous. He has provided me with firearms for many of my videos. He never asks nothing for himself. He's a very generous guy. He helps anybody. I'm very lucky to know him and call him as a friend. His channel is certainly one of the most underrated that there are. There's no channel that has any more information than him. Where his resources are, and where he gets his information, he's just a walking encyclopedia, and he shares it with all of us. So happy anniversary on YouTube, William, and I look forward to many more years. Thanks.
Yeah, Chris and I get on really well. We're both really dedicated gun people. We've been into guns our entire lives. We also both grew up shooting SP1s, so I think that's why we definitely like the retro. Now that said, he's definitely more into the modern manufacturing than I am. I still kind of go more retro, but so does he. And we kind of mix like peanut butter and jelly. We're very different, but I'm an AK guy, he's an AR guy, so all the time when I have questions, I call him. He talks about getting some AK info off me, which happy to share what I've honestly just picked up over the years. But when I have AR questions, I call him, and he has the answer. And he's a true professional. He has worked in the military, in the police. He's been a consultant. He's been a witness in court. He even worked for Colt for a number of years. So he knows things, and he essentially wrote Black Rifle 2. And knows a lot of individuals like Larry Vickers. So great guy. I kind of discovered his channel when it was getting started, and I am extremely happy that it's taken off. And only the tiniest bit jealous that even though his channel is not even half the age of mine, he has nearly 100,000 K. But no, just kidding. He definitely deserves it because he lives and breathes firearms, and he also has the support of his very dedicated wife and tolerance of his kids. So all around great people. The only thing, his wife is a true Texan. Chris is a New Yorker. Don't let him tell otherwise. He still hasn't quite earned his Southern citizenship. He's got a green card, we'll give him that. But he's got to stay down here a few more years before we'll give him real citizenship. Well, let's get back to making fun of early videos. And here's actually one that I had back then, and I have today, and probably won't sell. It's a little bit of a sentimental gun for me. And with that, let's take a look back at a video back when I knew how to make short ones. And we're back to doing music. Well, this is international, right?
KP44 pistol.
Still introducing myself at this point.
KP44 SMG parts kit. This one was made by Rick Smith down in Texas at SMG. I've had it for a couple of years, really like it. It has a welded stock to make it legal, an original 10-inch.
I picked it up for myself on Christmas, I think 2009.
Trigger and everything has been converted for semi-auto, of course a closed bolt. It is hammer fired, not striker. It's safe that way. It is
Military Gun Supply used to stock a lot of that stuff.
It was a reverse-engineered version of the Soviet PPS-42 and 43. During the Continuation War, the Finns captured quite a few of the Soviet guns and reworked them to make this, the KP-44.
Oh, the cow's return.
At first glance, it's very similar to the PPS-43, but you notice the magwell is quite a bit different.
I'm imagining the resolution still looks like we recorded it on a potato, right?
Stick mag made in the 50s. It does have
Yay,
the same type
mags.
of muzzle brake, a little bit different sling swivels. This is a Finnish military sling. It has a wooden pistol grip. The stock is nearly identical. The lower is a little bit shorter on this one. But anyway, this is a good semi-auto clone. We'll see how it shoots.
Yeah, that's a really good runner, and I still have that exact gun all these years later. So yeah, it's not a gun I take out shooting a lot. It works. And I did actually meet Rick Smith of SMG. Unfortunately, building of these and his PPS-43s kind of got halted by the Pioneer IO PPS-43C imports, but that's how it goes. The reason I wanted this is a Finnish gun. It's unique, it's weird. They weren't a ton of money. And I always like Finnish guns. And that actually kind of relates to this gun here. Don't have a video of it. This is a 1891 Mosin Nugget. This wasn't my first gun, but a Mosin 9130, and actually a Finnish issue 9130 was my first old school bolt action. And I had it, but I really didn't get interested in Finnish guns until I met the father of the cameraman right now, who I refer to as Doc. He was actually still is a professor at the college I went to, and proves that not all college professors are ultra-liberal, gun-hating hippies. He's just a gun-loving hippie. Oh, he did work for NASA, didn't he? But anyway, he got me into the M39. And this gun here is very special to me because he gave it to me as a Christmas gift many moons ago, nearly 20 years. And I asked him, I said, does it have rifling still? Because it's an old gun. He looked down at it and he goes, it's there. But it's special because of being a gift. I think it's probably the first gun gift I ever received from someone. And actually, he joined us out shooting just at the beginning of this month for 4th of July. And we still enjoy Finn guns. He's also one that helped me get into Swiss guns. I recently did a K31 video kind of relating that story as well. So not all my gun connections are internet or YouTube based. A lot of them go back 15, 20 years plus, and that's why they're just special to me and why all this is special to me.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, Doc. And with that, I have one more old gun video to show you. Kind of unique gun, and it's unique for me to do a 22 video, but who doesn't want a Sturmgewehr? Well, aside from Hitler in 1943. So with that, let's go back to a bit of an outlier video for us, and one recorded at the tail end of 2012. That doesn't quite sound as loud as 8mm Kurz.
This is the ATI GSG STG44-22. We just got through shooting it.
Yeah,
It did
yeah.
okay. There's a few good things and a few bad things. Let me start off by saying I'm not a 22 guy. I
put
like
it
center fire.
mildly.
When you're not shooting for accuracy, when you just love guns for their originality, 22s often are kind of, honestly, lame. At least to me.
Yeah, and
This is
after
my
we did
opinion.
this video, the price of 22
But
shot up. This was made
the
back when
originals
22 was
being
still
NFA
like
items
$1 for a
at
brick.
over 15 grand. And with the PTR 44s being over 6 grand and having a dubious reputation of,
Yeah.
overly heat-treated bolts,
That
crappy
didn't stop me,
magazines coming with them,
ultimately.
yada yada yada, and still being that much money. I guess to fill the STG 44 hole in my collection, I'll go with a $500 22 that at least is made of metal, weighs the same, has pretty nice wood.
Yeah, oh, that's
has
true.
Storage
They did a
compartment
good
here
job
in the
with this gun.
buttstock, like an original. Has a dust cover that moves. Has a magazine that's the original size. Has a stacking rod. Has the front sight hood protector. Has kind of a muzzle nut.
It did. It has a
Has
muzzle
an
on it.
accurate style safety. Down here has a dummy fire selector switch here.
That's
on
kind
the
of a neat
receiver.
feature.
Has a scope mount here for a ZF.
Because I need a scope so badly.
And what I think is coolest, and I know this is silly of me, but it's
Is that a
just-
word?
it's the
Coolest?
details.
Most cool?
It
More core?
disassembles
I don't
so
know.
similar to an original. You push this, you press the push pin out.
See, that
pull
was
the
back
butt
before they
stock
let
off,
us
and
start
this
doing
trigger
clipped and
hinges
pinned
down, just like an original,
MP5s
like
and
an
all that.
original
So yeah,
4.0
hinge
HK.
lower back
I just
then
think
was
that little
still a
detail's
novelty in a Shimano. Even a 22.
Anyway, back to how it shot. First we tried CCI
It shot like a
hollow
22.
points, and it fed a couple of them okay, but what was happening, because of the tight chambers in these, the hollow point tip was getting mashed as it was going into the metal chamber and not feeding very well.
Hollow points often
Well,
don't feed
not
well in
good.
these
We
kinds of
had a
guns.
stoppage, nothing major. It tapped right out, but
Yeah.
still a stoppage.
You know, this
So then
filled
we
the
tried
itch
Remington
for
Thunderbolt.
about 6 months.
We're talking the cheapest, dirtiest,
But
nastiest bulk pack stuff.
It's one of those
$2,
guns, either you
$3
get
for
it
100
and you
rounds
realize,
or more.
I don't need an MP44,
It
or
ran
even
flawless.
worse, you get it and
We didn't
realize,
have a
I
whole
really
lot of
want
it.
a real thing.
But it ran fine.
It's kind of a
Weapon's dirty as crap inside
appetite
now, but
encourager.
you know, it ran.
Whet
the
the
only
palate.
issue we actually had was with the magazines themselves. If you press down on this loader here too far, you're going to have rounds get loose in the body and get stuck in
Yeah,
the
I really
strike.
didn't like the magazines
The reason is they
back
tried
then.
to do the original dimensions
and
for the magazine, for the
still agree
original
today.
STG44, which is great, but there's so much hollows, and it gets stuck in there. So that's a problem that they should try to put something in there. I'm not real
Yeah,
crazy
aside
about
from
the
bullets,
mag
they
for
get
this
stuck.
at all. It just ruins the original look, and also because it's a polymer mag. Yes, I understand it was a cost savings measure, but
Metal?
a metal mag would have been nice.
Metal mag.
That's really my biggest complaint with the gun, is not the gun itself, but the magazine. Otherwise, got a nice reproduction K98 sling, which is the same sling for these.
Not
nice
exactly.
reproduction.
MP44 is actually used a different,
STG44 mag
little bit
pouch
different there.
that came from Numeric that holds 3 of these mags well. They're a little tight fit, but they hold fine.
Yeah, because
All
of
in
the
all, like I
loader
said, for
there
the money,
being polymer.
$550, $600. It's a
And that was
reasonable
with the wooden
alternative
crate. Later, a couple of
for
years
the
later,
STG
CD and able to have the
44
guns for under
all-in-ones
400.
collection. At least it is made in Germany. It is made from metal and wood. It is the right size. It's a full scale. You know, if I ever found a PTR for 4,000, I'd snap it up. But
Well, that didn't quite happen, but
beyond
I found
that,
one for
this is
5,000
probably
that came
gonna
with
have
a
to be
bunch of
one those
ammo,
good enough
so
situations.
I sold
thanks
this one
for
along.
tuning in, and catch you next time.
Yeah, I'm still just not a huge 22 fan, but, you know, it wasn't a bad gun. So like I said in that video, place filler, well, it worked for a while, but then a PTR 44 came my way because for a while the price dropped on them because there were all these great rumors of new ones coming in, which never materialized, so I kind of struck right. And I was very satisfied with the PTR 44. Didn't really need the 22 anymore. And did that work? It did for a bit until the PTR 44s went super crazy in price and I sold it. But I sold it to get this, an original. This is one of the few authentic machine guns I actually own. Because, my God, when you talk about history, no gun bridges the gap between old bolt actions like the Mosin and modern guns like the AR-15. Heck, some of these guns are still running in African nations today. Not bad for a late war thing. And no, I didn't pay sticker price for this. Far, far, far from it. A local friend that I've known many years that I've done favors for, he's done favors for me back and forth. He hooked me up to this, to the daughter of the man who brought it back. And she knew what it was worth, I told her, but she just didn't, you know, she wanted to move and wanted to make it easy. So we settled on a price that worked for both of us. And so because of generosity and, you know, lack of greed, I was able to pick up what wasn't even a dream gun or a whale gun for me. I never thought I would be able to pick up a legit Sturmgewehr. And it all started with that humble little 22. And that's kind of the story of this channel. The early videos, you'll see clones and copies. We tried to buy the best we could find, but we just didn't have the money. And we're not wealthy today. But back then, the market was different, and you just kind of took what you could get. And over time, I've traded, upgraded, finagled and waggled and looked for good deals, and slowly but surely, over 10 years, have kind of got my collection, both for shooting and for investment, where I really would like it to be. And I'm extremely pleased with that. It's been a lot of hard work, and all the support on here and Patreon has helped immensely. You have no idea, guys. This channel has meant a lot to me. I sincerely thank you. And with that, we have one more guest from maybe a somewhat surprising channel to kind of close the video with. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hi, Henry here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we want to wish Misha a happy 10-year anniversary. And before we were in the content creation side of things, we were very much consumers of Misha's content. And that's because it's very insightful, and a lot of times Misha is able to see things that us seeing folks are not. And with that, we have 3 critters here that Misha has really influenced me on to add to my personal collection. The first is the Czech VZ58. Now, I traded Misha a Saiga 762 converted to AK103 for this particular variant. And I'm very happy with the trade. I really enjoy the craftsmanship and the design and machining that's gone into the VZ58. But after our trade, we still continued to talk quite a bit about the AK100 series. We talked so much that I regretted that trade, and I wanted to still have both. So I ended up buying an AK103, well, a Saiga 762, and converting it to an AK103. But Misha's channel is not just about the modern stuff. He has a taste for the antiquities as well. And so one of the major influences that Misha's had on me is with the Arisaka series of rifles.
Arisuka? I don't know if I've heard. I don't know if I've heard this thing that Henry speaks of.
He's got a very good series on the evolution, rather the devolution of the Arisakas, as he does on very many different rifles. Which brings us to the point. Misha's been a major contribution to the firearms community, and we've enjoyed a lot of his insight in the last decade. We really hope to enjoy more of it, and fortunate enough to be a friend of Misha's. I'd like to hear more about what he sees in different designs and different types of ideas that go into these machines. And so congratulations, Misha. We look forward to the years to come. Take care.
Okay, jokes aside, yes, he's right. I really do love Arisakas, and here's one of my prized ones. This is a Type 2 paratrooper. I kind of got into Arisakas because no one else was into them in the 90s and early 2000s, at least not in a big way. And I'll confess, I think what really sparked my interest, especially for the so-called last-ditch guns, was the Tales of the Gun episode on the History Channel back before it was Pawn Stars and Alien Abduction, Ice Road Butt Plumbers. I don't know, whatever they do now. But yeah, I really like them. Now they've kind of caught on, but luckily I've already established what I wanted. And I happened to meet a lot of the old guys from the Bonsai Network. In fact, that's kind of where this came from. This was out of Doss White's collection when he passed, and that made me sad. I'm not going to say I was Doss's best friend ever, but we knew each other well and got on well enough. Another couple of gentlemen, one named John, that met, and yeah, it's just been a lot. So I really like these old guns. Mechanically, they're interesting, like the takedown. It's amazing how well built they were. And even though in the beginning we didn't do a lot of bolt action videos, more I've been doing them lately, and I encourage you, you might think they're boring. Your name would be James Reeves at that point, but seriously, give them a shot. There's a lot of interesting history and engineering behind them, and that's kind of where Henry and I intersect. His channel is a lot different than mine, but kind of opposites attract, and when people have strengths and weaknesses, it's better to work together to kind of fill your gaps, your voids. And that's what I try to do, and my friends in this video try to do, is cooperate. Don't compete, but cooperate together to better the gun community, both knowledge and legal rights and all that good stuff. I brought out my 805 Bren, mostly because it's just a great gun, but also because with the Bren and Bren 2, this is something that Henry helped me with. Being former military and serving overseas, he's been able to put me in touch with a couple of people in different militaries to get some kind of interesting information, kind of like Chris was saying in his clip about where do I get my stuff. Sometimes from books, a lot of times from websites and forums, more than a few times from actual guns I'm holding on to, and sometimes just kind of via contacts that I make, friend of a friend of a friend. And, with modern phones and internet, it's perfectly safe and easy to ask someone in the Czech Republic or even China in some instances about a gun. And so Henry has been one of many sources, especially helping out with the Bren and Bren 2. I greatly appreciate it. And we both obviously share a love of the AK-103, AK-74M, all that good stuff. He's probably my newest friend, and I say that in the video here. We've only known each other a couple of years. A lot of the guys I've known for 5 years, even 10. But it's been a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun to talk to, and he's a younger gentleman, and it's kind of interesting to get his perspective growing up after the time we did, and his kind of view on the shooting market, and also for someone who immigrated here and his appreciation for our gun rights. So very happy that he contributed. And by the way, what he did in the video, he totally asked me if that was okay, and I thought it was hilarious. So yeah, don't worry, he wasn't picking fun at me. As you can tell, I'm super sensitive. But no, I greatly appreciate his contributions and look forward to saying that we've been friends in 10 years from now. Guys, got a lot of thanks to give, and sincerely so. I first appreciate you all staying with this video. I wanted to do something special for the 10-year anniversary, also for crossing 50,000 subs on YouTube and having great support on Patreon. I hope you found it. I both cringed and laughed at looking at the old videos. Well, listening to the old, you know what I mean. And, I asked several people if they'd like to contribute 30-second clips to this video. I think every one of them's over a minute, and literally every single person I asked did it. In fact, I thought we had one person that wasn't going to be able to make it. When we were recording this video, he called to get his clip in. So everyone I asked happily did it, and I greatly appreciate it. A lot of them took time out of vacations and their weekends to do it. That stuff goes noticed by me quite a bit. So they're all good people. We're all just people. We're all in the gun industry together. And most of us just want to live and let live, have our families, work and enjoy firearms. And that's what it is for me, a sense of community. Something like this to me is not an evil black rifle. This is fun. This reminds me of shooting with my father, well, the SP1 would, when I was young, or times with friends when we were in college going out to the range. The memories are very positive because we're responsible people and have no desire to hurt anyone, to do anything like that. And that's what this channel is built on. It's not for politics, it's just to share the enjoyment of guns. And it's pretty eclectic too. You'll see ARs and AKs, sure. And then we'll do a lot of kind of weird and offbeat guns. At one time, the 805 Bren was just such a critter. The SIGs today, kind of like unique stuff. And there's a lot of fun to be had by owning and shooting a gun. It's such a smooth bolt, nice trigger, that really hasn't been advertised a lot. And it's sad that CZ no longer makes these. And then, as I said earlier, I like the old bolt actions still. And more than a few of my bolt guns, kind of our physical reminders of friends no longer with us. My MAS 36 is one such gun, not the one you saw earlier, but a standard one. These are memories. These are very positive things for me, and they've been uplifting at times in my life when I needed that, and the people alongside. And that extends out to you fine folks out there in YouTube land. I'm not sure I want to work for another 100 years, like Rob said, but at least another 10 would be good. So hopefully we'll be able to do a 20-year or even 25-year anniversary video. As long as YouTube lets us and physically able, we'll be here. You guys put a lot of energy and want to respect that and return in kind. So with that, as I told our guest, feel free to roast me. Feel free to, talk about how terrible the old original videos are. I'm not saying the new ones are just the best ever, but the old ones, come on, at least we've come some ways since then, as has YouTube. And with that, I'm sure all of you subscribe to the guest on here, but if you haven't, we had AK Operators Union, Rob Ski. We had Blaine of Atlantic Firearms, who has their own channel. We had Dave of JDI Sand Imports. We had Tim of, I can't remember who he works for. Something mac and cheese, some kind of pasta company, I don't know. And then we had Chris Bartacci of Small Arms Solutions. And we had James of the Short Shorts company, James Reeves of TFB TV. I also used to know Alex that used to work there. He liked the old guns too. And then finally, of course, we had Henry of 9 Hole Reviews. Greatly appreciated to all. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed, or even if you're subscribed and haven't checked them out lately, do so, because they're all doing content and keeping on and fighting the good fight, all that great stuff. So as always, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to the Patreon page. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.